Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, chaps. Welcome to the Green Arrow Podcast and Fantasy Football Hubs. We look ahead to Gameweek 9 after a long international break. My name is Fergi. Adam, welcome back. You actually wildcarded into Gameweek 8. What colour was your arrow in Gameweek 8? I hope it was green for your sake.
It was green, yeah. It was a healthy green one as well. So I went up from, I'll tell you now, I was in the 3 millions, I know that. 3.1 to 2.3 million. So yeah, it was a decent green arrow. I felt my team needed a wild card. I mean, I was just looking at it. I had Estupinan, I had Botman. My defence needed surgery. I could see prices going up left, right, and centre. I really fancied Salah, and I was looking at some stats on Salah because I was deciding would I include him in the wild card, and I found there was some incredible info. His expected data was just ridiculous. Yeah. Even if it was slightly biased towards assists, I couldn't leave him out. So that made me think, well, my team's in a state. Do I want Salah versus Brighton? And it looks like I made got that decision right. I think it could be said I ditched Sterling for Salah, which technically I did.
It could be said.
It could be said because it is a fact. It could be stated with facts that I did do that. The reality is, though, just for context, I was selling Sterling. I didn't think Sterling would start. So I wouldn't have kept. Yeah, I wouldn't have kept Sterling. So that's why I don't feel too bothered by that. My only slight regret is it's not that I wildcarded, maybe a couple of decisions on players, which we'll probably talk about later on, so I won't go into those now. But I was so close to captaining Salah as well, really, really close. And the thing that stopped me is I thought, if I get it wrong, and it's this fear element, if I get it wrong, all of the people that haven't wildcarded are going to have a huge advantage on me. So that's what stopped me. But I just fancy. I like I said, I was very, very big on Salah. That was the main reason I wildcarded. And yeah, it's. I feel my team's in a better position, but I'm going to have some big decisions. Probably not this week, but next week. I'll have to think about whether I keep Haaland or not.
I think that's I'm really excited for next week because as it stands, I'm wildcarding next week, and I'm not going with Haaland as it stands. Now, if he bangs in a hat trick and an assist on Saturday, obviously things are not looking so good. But we had a bit of a look at it last week with Bakar as well, and there's really good captaincy options aside from him. And I get the feeling, I'm not saying Alvarez will cover Haaland completely, but pound for pound, and considering what you can do with the rest of it, I think it's reasonable. So yeah. Adam panicked and hit the wildcard button.
No, it was no panic. It was
it was quite a late decision, though, didn't he? You made it quite late in the window, didn't you? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I think I made it on the. It wasn't on the Saturday. It was probably on the Tuesday. So there were a couple of. I had a few people message me as you do about, and I think it's actually Big Man Bakar was one. We were going back and forward on it, and I said I was unsure, and I was likely not to wildcard, but it really depended on Man United, because this was before they played in the Champions League, and Sterling. Sterling was sick and he missed that game. Man United were terrible against Galatasaray, yeah. So I was like, well, I don't really
go another week with them. Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, I wanted Salah in my team, and I think I've always been quite not anti-Salah, but I've always been the one to see the other side of Salah. And actually, just when I was looking at the data, I thought it makes sense to get him in. And I think the big decision on wildcard is, do you go Salah, Haaland, or both? I've decided I thought it's probably safer with doubt to start off with both and then get rid of one. I think that's an easier, safer route, even if it costs me a -4, because if you make that mistake, let's say I didn't have Salah in my team last week, it's hard to rectify. It really is tough, particularly if you spread the funds. So you're probably looking at a -8 at best to sort that out. So I'm not against losing either, but I thought it's best to start with both.
Cool. And Rich, great to have you back. How are you, and what colour was your arrow in Gameweek 8?
I'm all right. I was expecting a red. I got a red, but it wasn't a massive red. It was only a couple of 100,000 places, so I was sort of stuck at about 2.5 mil rank wise. I took a hit, my first hit of the season, in Gameweek 8, and there were a number of drivers for taking a hit for me. My team value, and I think we're going to talk about team value in a bit, was plummeting. I was losing value I am losing value on players left, right, and centre. And I just wanted to buy 3 players that I thought would rise over the international break, and just so I could actually just stop the bleeding a little bit on the team value. So I bought in Pedro Porro, bought in Matty Cash, and bought in Son. Son was obviously for the 2 games to follow as well, and the captaincy. So I took a hit, got those 3 in. And actually, I have gained about 0.6 or 0.5 on those players since I brought them in. So that's great. And the opposite of Adam was that Raheem Sterling saved my game week. Basically, he saved it from being an absolute nightmare. So got 47 -4, but Sterling those 16 points were very welcome. Been a long time coming. So thank you, Raz. But I think you might be departing this week.
Yeah, indeed. I thought I had a poor week, but I actually I finished above you, Rich. I was quite surprised this week. I didn't have any kind of standout players at all. Pickford the hero, who I was dragging out all season. But other than that, Udogie, Trippier, Maddison and Son, 45 points. Smallest of greens, which I couldn't believe. I was abroad when this was happening. I just didn't score anything. I knew I didn't score anything apart from Pickford. So I thought I was going to get a massive red, but the smallest of greens. And I'm pretty happy going to Game Week 9. I was looking at your transfer value earlier, Rich. We're going to have a chat about that in a bit, about how important it is. And yours, I think you've got 97.7 plus 0.1, so yours is quite low. Whereas Adam and I have a million more. Not that I don't think that's massively important, but interesting. You made those moves just pre-wildcard, just to catch some rise. Have a chat about that a little bit, Rich. But
we'll have a chat about it. I think that might be a little bit inaccurate. I think I'm on. It's 100.5 is my cut as of today.
Okay.
Yeah, but there's a lot of people with like 101.9, 102 plus. So I think I'm adrift of the average, definitely.
Cool. Welcome everyone in the chat. Jan Kalioski, evening all. Not Drag is in. Ron Spieth from San Francisco. We Live FPL. That TPS player. So I'm going to be late because I'm having dinner in like 2 mins. He says I'm from the UK. Having dinner makes you posh. I definitely have tea where I live, but I think we've had this discussion before.
Shall we wait? Should we wait for him?
Yeah. Let's wait for 2 minutes.
Just pause it.
Yeah. So we'll hang on for you.
Dan Megan, who's from my neck of the woods, is hopefully having tea after this. Is in. Todd Kurska, John David, SoCan referee Rick, the Red Arrow podcast. It will definitely turn. Don't worry about that. Early days. Big Lou, Brian, and so many more. Laura Hollywood said, your team is bad when yours is up, Adam. Thanks for that, Laura. And Stian says, why am I in this stream when when everyone here is in the top 2 million and I am top 20k? It'd be interesting to see how many top 10k finishes you've got, Stian, because between the 3 of us, we've got about 20. So do one, Betty. Immortal Technique is also in. Jammer is in from Western Canada. Liam says Haaland captain against Brighton can be one on the attack. Everton will sit in and make it hard for Saturday. That's going to be an interesting chat later on captaincy. Brian says Haaland is essential. Don't care what anyone says. Quick look at the Hub Mini League Analyzer for us. You can check out your own mini leagues here. Fantasy Football hub.co.uk mini leagues, and go and check out. It tells you your transfers, your rank, your live rank. Tells you what everyone is doing, how many hits people are taking, etc. Adam, you're top by 6 points after this week. And in terms of the awards, you won Lucky FC this week, Adam. You scored the most variance from predicted points, but there are a whole host of awards you can share with your friends in your WhatsApp group. So go and do that if you like. Okay. Fixtures. This week, excited to be back, chaps. When I looked at the fixtures, there's big swings coming. I'm very excited. Top of the shop, certain Aston Villa. We'll be asking Adam just in a second around Watkins and Diaby and everyone else. Liverpool also very, very high on there. Arsenal, Brentford, West Ham. Cards get excited from Bournemouth and Forest, and right down the bottom, Chelsea, Fulham, and Everton. But Adam, interested obviously because Villa are top on your take on the coming weeks. You said you've got a couple of decisions to make. Where do you see who are the teams who you're going to be kind of looking at over the next 3 or 4 weeks, and which kind of players?
Yeah, so I decided not to put Watkins in my team, and I think he's an incredible option. I think he's great, but I thought it's tough because I didn't want to go too all in on Villa, because I think that with European football, and I think particularly away from home, things haven't quite clicked yet. So for me, I mean, there's loads of good options at the moment, and I think for those who are wildcarded next week, I think you can look at Arsenal, you can look at Villa, West Ham, Brighton. So there's loads and Liverpool, loads of really, really good options. I think in terms of Villa, the one that stands out the most to me is Matty Cash, if you haven't got him already. So some incredible data on Cash is that he's had the same number of shots in the box as Diaby, more big chances than Diaby, same number of shots on target. So he's so attacking, and I think one thing Villa will do, West Ham maybe not. I'm not really sure how that game will play out. I think it'll be quite tight, but I think against Luton, Forest, Fulham, there's a good chance of clean sheets. And Cash has always got the chance of an attack in return, particularly, I mean, missed a big chance against Wolves as well. So I think for me, Matty Cash, I think you can play him for the next 7 or 8 game weeks and not worry. Diaby and Watkins is a tough one, because if you go back to the first 6 game weeks, I think the Brighton game has probably pushed things a little bit towards Watkins. And I think people, but I'm not, I think there's a bit of a skew there. I think Watkins is massively overperforming his expected data, but also that was a game. It almost reminded me of, remember last season, I think you got lucky with this one, Rich, where you had Callum Wilson and he got like his 2 goals, 2 assists.
Yeah.
It might have been against Villa. It was against Villa actually, wasn't it?
Right, yeah, I remember.
And so I remember you getting lucky with that one. So yeah, you'd have had that award, wouldn't you? Lucky FC.
Lucky swine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I think that Watkins performance reminded me of that a little bit. So he's not going to do that every week. He will tick along nicely. He will, and I think the way he's playing, he will consistently return goals and assists. The question for me, is he worth 1 million more than Alvarez, or 1 point whatever it would be now, 1.23 million? And is he worth the extra over Diaby? Up to game week 6, Watkins and Diaby were neck and neck, and Diaby had a marginal goal ruled offside versus Palace. And I think if that stands, we might be viewing it a little bit different. So I've got Diaby.
Can I ask you a question? Is he playing in the same role as Watkins, but just on the other side?
No.
So what role is Diaby? Is he deeper?
Yeah, I would say Watkins is an out and out striker. Diaby's like a support striker, if you want it. Okay. So he's playing, but he will get chances. I mean, if you look at the number of volume of chances, the majority is falling to Watkins. But what I like about Diaby, his runs and running in behind are excellent, and I don't think it's quite clicked for him yet, but he's looked good. So if you look at the Brighton game, before he scored, he had another chance where he sort of dragged the shot, and I thought he looked quite electric first half, but it was Watkins that got the return. So I thought I'd chance it on Diaby because I wanted to stick with the 3-5-2, and if I'm being honest, I didn't want to drop Alvarez just yet. And I was thinking, is the million, and I think I had a choice of Neto and Watkins, which would have been better to go for last week, or Diaby and Alvarez. And I thought Diaby and Alvarez was more exciting. It's such a tough call. And the other problem with Watkins, it's not Watkins himself as a player, because I think he will tick along and do well. And I can't put anybody off the pick. But if you've got Haaland and Salah, and that is probably something we'll talk about, you can't have every single player. You can't have Trippier, Watkins, Son, Saka, etc. You've got to let some of them go. And I think for me, I think the midfielders like Saka, Son, have got the higher upside. I think Watkins will tick along nice. So it's a tough one, but he's playing really well. He said, if you listen to some of his interviews when he was in the England camp and going in there, he's talking very highly about the coaching that he's getting at the moment. And yeah, I've got a slight regret that I haven't got him, but it's when you guys go to Wildcard, if you have Haaland, Salah, Son, it's really difficult. You can get Watkins, but
you can, but then you've got to have a cheap defense and
it's
Palmer and Gordon and other compromises.
I think that's the thing. You can't have everyone. So I think Watkins is a great pick. I've even considered, and I haven't ruled this out yet, is doing Haaland to Watkins next week for the Luton game. I may do that. I'm not sure. So yeah, but do you know what? It's quite a nice position for me to be in, because I'm at the, when I'm going to the games, I want him to do well anyway. So I'm not too. I'd rather him do well and us win than him blanking every game week.
If you could afford it, Adam, if it was affordable, would the double up on Watkins and Diaby, and I suppose the triple up, on Watkins, Diaby and Cash, do you think it would, that combination would do very well over the next 4 or 5 weeks?
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you if my team value, if I had an extra 1.5 million, I would put Watkins in as well. Okay. Yeah, 100%. I think he's playing. I think ever since Emery's come in, he's been excellent. But but there's so many other players that are performing at a high level, and 8 million is a lot when you're trying to fit all of these assets in. So it's just the budgetary constraints, and you're going to have to choose between, which players that you want to get. I mean, another one from Villa that he's on 4 yellow cards, but he's ticking along very nicely. It's Douglas Luiz. So he's on pens. He scored 5 home games in a row. He always seems to find ways to get involved in the points. So if you've got but if you're struggling on budget, I would go there. And it's just a shame, if Jacob Ramsey was fit, that is another player that I would really look at, because he's brilliant, but I don't think he'll be back, unfortunately.
Superb stuff.
Okay, just before you ask me, Fergie,
go on, Rich,
on the fixtures, and while you've got the fixtures up, I just had a question for Adam. You see, if you're wild carding next week, you've got that glorious run of 3 fixtures for Villa, Luton, Forest, Fulham, but then it gets a bit harder, doesn't it? I mean, would you say it's still worth going like all in with 3 Villa on a wild card just for those 3 fixtures, or would you say it feels to me like 2's enough? Do you know what I mean? It's like,
I think that's how, to be honest, that's how I felt about it doing it last week. I was trying to have balance, and I didn't think Diaby could cover Watkins, but I thought he could, given the price difference, he would cover the points for 1 million, and I could use it elsewhere. So I think 2's fine, and I think particularly when you're wild carding, I think sometimes we can go gung ho on any team, but like you've just put there perfectly, Rich, is that for game week 10, for the Villa will be looking great. Then you do the fixture ticker 2 weeks later, and all of a sudden it's looking a bit gloomy.
Yeah.
I'd say though, like away to Spurs in 13, I always expect Spurs to score, but Spurs are not that strong defensively. I wouldn't be surprised to see that be, like a 2-2 or 3-2 or something,
Mm.
and then they're away to Bournemouth the week after as well. So I think 13 and 14 okay. After that, City and Arsenal, obviously a bit more difficult, but I think you get 5 weeks, not 3 personally.
I'm not sure. So the one frustration I've got with Villa is we're not travelling well at the moment, and even against Wolves, it was a pretty even game until they went down to 10 men, and we tried to sneak the win. So if I look at our fixtures, and I'm trying to be objective here, and it's hard for me to do that, is that I back us to beat anybody at home the way that we're playing, but the fact that we've won 10 in a row at home, it's not going to last forever, is it? We're not going to go and win 20 games at home. So the bubble will burst at some point. And I think West Ham at home is tough. The Luton game's the one that I like. But they're going to come. They'll probably play 5 at the back. They're going to come and make it difficult, and they'll be challenging at set pieces. So it may not be easy for us to break them down. Forest away, I don't think it's as easy. I think it's actually a much tougher fixture, and I think they've demonstrated that this season. And I don't like Villa away anyway at the moment. Fulham at home's fine, but then I think Spurs and Bournemouth are both away matches, and again we're away from home. And I think I haven't got the fixture in front of me, but I think then we go into Man City and Arsenal.
That's right.
So which are home games, which is good, but I don't think I think Rich has called it spot on. I think there's investing this week's probably good actually, I would say, because we are so good at home. It's I've never seen Villa Park be so much of a fortress, and it's just ridiculous. But we've got 3 of the next 4 are at home. So
might punt Diaby then. If I can afford that.
Yeah, I think I would go. I think Villa are a good bet this week.
Okay. Rich, what's your take on next week? Obviously, you and I think are both wildcarding next week.
Yeah, I won't talk anymore about Villa. I'm very interested in Liverpool. Yeah, I'm very interested in Arsenal, and I think some of the wildcard drafts I've put together already have heavily featured players from both those teams. Shall we say? So I think pretty much most people who already wildcarded have got a plan to bring Saka back in game week 10. So I think you're going to need more than Saka in order to make some gains. So I'm definitely looking at another Arsenal attacker coming in, possibly Martinelli. I think he's offering value at 7.7. So interesting to see how he goes against Chelsea this week. I think I'll hang on to Gabriel, who I've had since the beginning, partly because every time he goes up 0.1, it'll be like double bubble for me. I'll be getting some sale value back. And also I think he's a great bet for the coming fixtures. So I possibly will triple on Arsenal going forward. Really like Liverpool. Obviously, I've got to survive one more week without Salah this week. I can't get to him without a hit. So I'm going to wait till game week 10. I will bring Salah. I also really like Darwin, so I'm hoping he's good for he's never going to be completely nailed, but I do think he's worth it as a extra striker, and I possibly will go Darwin over Watkins, which is why I was so interested in what Adam was saying. So really like Liverpool. And you mentioned before we went on air that we may get a gift in Tsimikas, Fergie, depending on how long Robertson's out for. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I should. One of my ultras on a Zoom call last night was talking about the fact that he said, now this is not substantiated, but he mentioned that he thought he'd heard from someone's nan or something that Robertson might be out till the new year. Now, if that is true, and I don't know if it is, then Tsimikas looks a really good bet on the wild card. So
agree.
Who would be, because you've mentioned some really good players there, agree with all of them. Who would be your big sacrifices in a wild card? You said you've put some drafts together based on what you know now.
Yeah, I would. I mean, some of those, I'm just effectively getting rid of all the Tottenham players, pretty much. So Maddison and Son, Son has to become Salah for me, given my team value almost. I can't really create a Haaland and Salah wild card, that still has Son in the team. I've got to go to the cheaper assets. And if I want Saka and Martinelli, that means I've got to, really stretch it, elsewhere. And I've looked at 3-4-3 combinations with retaining Alvarez because I don't think anything's wrong with Alvarez. I regret selling Mitoma early in the season when he hadn't done anything wrong, and he continued to bang in the points. Similarly, Alvarez is, people are moving him on for Watkins, they're moving him on for Darwin this week and stuff like that. And he's done nothing wrong, and he's playing for the best team, arguably the best team in the world, who are just having a bit of a blip. So I think Alvarez could still be a really good part of teams going forward. So I don't really want to lose him. Got to lose some Tottenham assets. I've got to lose, possibly lose one of the 5 million defenders in order to afford those 2 Arsenal mids and Darwin and stuff. So, yeah, I'm playing around with it. Although there are enablers out there, Ad. So, people like Cole Palmer at 4.9, even though the fixtures are tough for Chelsea, he's fine as a bench option. People are starting to talk about Souček quite a lot as a West Ham option at 4.9. And I might go for Anthony Gordon this week at 5.6 and then just keep him in the team because I want some Newcastle attacking cover. And I think he's a cheap way in. So having those enablers or using those enablers on Wildcard to give me 3 out of the 4 premiums, I think is what I'm looking to do. And I would count Saka as a premium for the next phase of games, I think.
He's for you, is Haaland 100% in your...
Yeah, I'm gonna keep him. I'm not thinking of going without him. It'd be interesting to see, if it's definitely a viable strategy looking at the fixtures and looking at the form of the last 2 weeks. But I just feel happier, with him in the team, captaining him most of the time, going forward. I'm not worried about whoever City play at home. And I'm gonna keep him personally.
What about you, Fergie?
Yeah, no,
Fergie, you had some different thoughts on that, didn't you?
I'm going without Haaland because I want Son. Like there's a narrative that people debunk that Son is good against the good teams based on nothing when he is excellent against the good teams, and he really is. And if he's playing up front, his XG and his XA when he plays, his XG when he plays up front is fantastic. Spurs are a different team now as well. He's likely on penalties, and as a Spurs fan, going to places like we're home to Villa, away to Man City, all these kind of things. Having Son for me is, I want him in, especially at his price. So going without Haaland, I think Alvarez, if Man City batter teams 3-4, 5-0, like Alvarez is currently playing 90 in most games. I expect him to be really heavily involved as well as Haaland. Obviously, Haaland will be heavily involved, but I expect Alvarez to be as well. And in the Champions League, actually, Alvarez has been scoring as much as Haaland.
Doing really well.
So I think Alvarez can help cover not point for point, but pound for pound cover Haaland when there are so many other fantastic captaincy options, in kind of Arsenal, Spurs, Liverpool, Salah, and it means I can retain Trippier. I made a really strong argument for Trippier a few weeks ago on this pod, I think, just as we were going in on Newcastle defenders, and he hasn't disappointed. And I think there's numerous other ones. You can have Simicast as well. I think Watkins and Alvarez in the short term, and you can even have 3 up front, potentially someone like Darwin, even Hodgland, right? Højlund. United's fixtures are fantastic. They still fantastic after the City game. They've got Sheffield United this week. Where are they? Lost them. Then they've got Fulham, Luton, Everton. The next 3, which are decent, and all this Darwin. But it just means I can have Saka, Son, either one then of Maddison, Bowen, Mitoma. I really want Mitoma back, for example.
Yeah, you can pretty much have anyone.
Have whoever you want,
apart from Haaland.
And so I think when Haaland scores a hat trick, he gets 17 points as a 4, which is 34. When Salah or Son score a brace with a clean sheet, I think that's worth either 15 or 16 points. Or 2 goals and an assist definitely matches him. So I think I'm gonna. I know it's risky, right? Due to his ownership and the fact that he's a goal machine. But with the fixtures, the only one I'm really really scared of is I think it's game week 11, is it, when they're home to Bournemouth,
Bournemouth.
which is mega. It's mega scary. But Liverpool away to Luton, you've got Villa away to Forest, and and stuff as well. And so even if I lose out captaincy wise last week, I think the sum of my points overall should be able, enable me to keep up, which is my thinking. So just before we move on, chaps, Bakar wanted us to just quickly look at the pros and cons between a wildcard in 10, obviously, which Rich and I are planning, and 19. Now, I haven't really thought about 19. It's purely because these fixture swings for me are so obvious and so tempting that I'm not waiting until 19, because I think there's so much upside available, isn't it? Especially for those who haven't.
I think if I was in the top 200k now, I think there's more. I'm doing well.
Yeah.
There's more of an argument to hang on, keep the players you've got who are doing well. Try and get, if you're lacking Salah, get him in for a hit or get him in with 2 free transfers, and and carry on for a bit, because you don't have to chase your rank. I think if you're 2.5 million like we are, you've got to start making something happen in the next month. I think you could wait. You wait till game week 19, and it's not gone right again because you've been patient. You could be at 4 million. I mean, game's over at that point at Christmas. I think you've got to be looking at your rank and looking at, although you could still move up very quickly with a good wild card. That's why I want to play it now, because the next 4 weeks are crucial to having a good period. So that's one reason I wouldn't wait till 19. However, it is another opportunity, and if your team is well structured, you have the right players in it at the moment. The key players. You maybe kept Watkins since the start. Who's running into nice fixtures. You've got Son, you've got Salah already. Then. By all means, don't be forced to play the wild card. Keep it until that fixture swing, and then dead end into 18 for the blank, and then wild card out of it with triple captain in game week 20. So that's a very good opportunity to max out at that point. But I would say look at your current team and how good it is, and if you're going to be limping for the next 5 or 6 weeks,
you can always get a sense, can't you, of whether you're going to get a green or red arrow, but like week on week, based on if it's just like when you're behind the curve, that's the thing in it. Like if you don't have Salah now and you don't wild card, you're going to be worrying over the next 3, 4, 5 weeks. How am I going to get him in? And it'll take hits, but then you're still behind the curve, because when you bring in Salah, people move on to the next player and the next player, and I think that's the period we're in with the fixture swings. People like Mitoma, you haven't got a chance to think about Mitoma because you've got so many other fires to put out. If Tsimikas starts this weekend as well against Everton, he's going to be really, really hot for game week. Everyone for game week 10. All of a sudden, you're always behind the curve, aren't you? So I think the opportunity for me, the upside is too great in terms of good teams, good offensive teams, definitely having really good fixtures. So yeah, what's Adam, just quickly kind of your balanced argument on 10 against 19 for wildcard?
Yeah, I mean it depends what state and what position your team's in, but I would suggest that if you haven't wildcarded yet, there's a really, really good opportunity in game week 10 to take advantage of the fixture swings. I think I can't really see personally. I know a lot of people are talking about game week 19 or game week 18, 19 when Haaland doesn't play or City don't play. Of course, that could be an opportunity, and could you use it to dead end and then set up your team for a bench boost, for a potential double game week? I'm not sure on that. I actually think a tactic could be in game week 17, or it's 18 the game that they miss, isn't it? So I think in game week 18, if you was to sell Haaland and then bring him back, it's effectively 4-8 points at most if you transfer in and out, and you're giving yourself a decent chance to bring in to have a 1 week punt. I think you'll make I think there's far much upside for me targeting the next block of fixtures because they're good teams. Arsenal, Liverpool, dare I say, Villa, West Ham.
Yeah, good
I think
teams.
Newcastle defensively have got a nice long-term run. So Brighton. So I think, I think there's a strong temptation if you haven't already to wildcard in the next week.
Cool. Thank you, gents. Good stuff. Just to quickly look at the predicted points for the next 4 game weeks. Haaland unsurprisingly top with 32, Salah 27, Son 25, Bruno still up there given their incredible fixtures, 23, Saka 21. Obviously, there's a few fitness concerns on Son and Saka. What I would say about Son, there's plenty of chat around, Son is clean nursing an injury and, he's playing kind of 70, 80 minutes. 70, 80 minutes is fine for me with Son personally, and Spurs only play once a week as well. All the other big teams, every one of them are playing twice a week. Spurs only playing once a week. They're also out the Carabao, the cup as well. So Son is getting plenty of rest each week, and I just think he'll get better. He is nursing an injury, but he's not having to play, every Wednesday and Thursday as well. So I think
it's not what you want.
It's
not what you want to hear though. If you read the quotes, because I've travelled all the way to Korea, I don't want to let people down. Like, have a rest, Son. Go on. We don't. We want you to be. Yeah, exactly. We want you back sharp for the weekend.
Yep.
So yeah, there is a little bit of a concern for me on Son, I think.
Maddison 21, Watkins and Diaby really close, 21 and 20. So the argument around which one, the answer could be both in the short term, definitely. Trent, we haven't mentioned Trent, I think, since pre-season. 7.9 million. Any interest in Trent yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'm struggling to afford Trippier on a wild card. I mean, an extra million to get Trent. I mean, you're having a laugh, aren't you? But I mean, it is an opportunity to, to have an incredible differential if he starts to kick in. But it's just, his role isn't quite what it used to be, is it? He's not on all the set pieces he used to be and stuff like that. So
I think Tsimikas will kill all love for Trent personally.
The extra 3.5 million, you can do a lot with that, can't you?
Exactly, yeah.
He takes a lot of corners as well when he's on the pitch, Tsimikas from memory as well. So double up with Salah might be really nice though. If you can, argue and Haaland and you fill out the rest of your 14 and you've got 7.9 million left, it could be a good punt because you can easily move down from there, can't you? But obviously Trippier would be the preferred option. Odegaard 20, Foden. He would be my 1 week. We're going to look at 1 week punts next. I think mine would be Foden at home to Brighton. I can't get to him because I've got bloody Gvardiol as my third player. Mitoma, Bowen, Martinelli. There's some. These are all amazing options for this coming run. And Wemo still. He's having his last hurrah for my team this week against Burnley. Rashford just scraping in now. Trippier, Jesus still in Ibiza, but yeah, they're the predicted points for the next few weeks. 1 week punts. So for those who are wildcards in Game Week 10, it looks like there is a lot of us, especially in the kind of in the FPL community. We got the opportunity to have a bit of a free roll this week, a free ticket in the draw. So Rich, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, absolutely. So I wish I had more money in my wallet personally. I've only got 0.4 mil to spend. I'm not going to take hits this week. I think hits before a wild card are very expensive, and pretty unlikely to pay off. So I'm a bit restricted in some of these options, but we picked out a few here in the picture. You heard Fergie mention Foden. A lot of people are doubled up with Alvarez and Haaland. Foden. Is he guaranteed to start? With Bernardo and Grealish back, and Alvarez travelling, they're maybe not all going to start, but I think he probably, he started most of the games, and he's a great price at 7.5 mil. So if you're a Sterling owner like myself and you've got a little bit more money, you can get to Foden at the same sort of price. Luis Diaz, we may get early team news on Saturday mornings, the first game. Again, he's travelled from South America, so if these guys coming back from their World Cup games or their qualifiers over there are going to start, and same goes for Darwin Núñez in the corner there. They're great options for a punt. They're great options on wildcard anywhere, and you may pick up a pip in value as well when you bring him in a day early. So really like Núñez. I wish I could get to him, but again, I could if I knew he was starting, I think he'd be my pick of them all to get this week before everybody else piles on. And I really like him, but I'm sure I can't. I'm 0.1 short to go Alvarez to Nunes, and that's really painful. And another one who's probably not been talked about too much is Morgan Gibbs White. Forest are home to Luton this week, so bit of a keeper dilemma for me whether to play Onana at Sheffield United or play Turner. And I think I'm probably going to go Turner, to be honest, because home to Luton doesn't get any better than that. But Gibbs White's on pens, I think, for Forest, playing really well. And for a 1 weeker, you're not going to clutter up your team.
Chris Wood, I'm just going to chuck in Chris Wood in there with a 1 year out. I think Wood started at the season,
right.
so
he'd
be the ultimate 1 week differential.
How much is he?
How much is he?
I'm so sorry.
Stole it
4.9.
So I would
sorry,
agree with. That's all right. So I'd agree with both of you. So Forest, I think, have got a couple of good differentials. I think Morgan Gibbs White, absolutely. Chris Woods for a 1 week. I mean, he's 4.9 million.
Wouldn't that be just? It'd go down in folklore if he got a couple of goals.
Yeah.
I think there's also I don't know who's going to start, but you've got Hudson-Odoi or Elanga, whoever starts there. So I think there's some options for Forest. So I do like that. And then I also think Newcastle as well.
Yeah,
home to Palace. Palace without a few players, aren't they? So
that's it. So the one I didn't mention is in the corner there. That will probably be the one I go for, which is Anthony Gordon. So I'll probably lose Sterling this week. He's got Arsenal at home, although he's given me 16 points last week. I think Arsenal's a tough match for them. So really like Anthony Gordon for 5.6. I think he's an absolute bargain for that price and may well stay in the team post Wildcard, I think, for the run, because Newcastle are putting up about, I think, what they put up last week, 4 XG or something. They're putting up the highest XG per team in the league at the moment. So really are producing the numbers at both ends of the pitch, and really like Gordon as an option. So there's probably loads more though, especially in that mid-price bracket. You've piqued my interest in Diaby. I could switch Sterling to Diaby. Maybe he's a better pick than Gordon, but I haven't got a lot of wriggle room in terms of going up in price. So
I think Højlund at Sheffield United as well. I know I've mentioned him a couple of times, but I think that's a really good fixture for United. I'm hoping as a Rashford and Bruno owner still that they have one last hurrah. But I think Højlund would be decent.
I've still got them both as well. I've still got Onana.
I think Neto. I think Wolves have got. Who have Wolves got?
Bournemouth
at home could be a decent one. So who would your favourite one be, Rich? If money was no object.
Darwin.
Adam, yourself?
Whoever starts at number 9 for Newcastle, that would be. And I don't know. So either Isak or Wilson.
I'm going to go for Chris Wood as my.
I like Chris Wood.
How often can we ever say that again in FPL? Chris Wood.
Yeah, exactly.
I think another one to mention, if it's just 1 week, would be Visa at who's got Burnley at home.
Yeah, that's.
I think he's. I just think his shot volume is generally quite good, or it has been this season. So that's
not a bad show actually, because actually if we get some sort of leak that Alvarez is not starting, you could go for a quick downgrade there. Forgot about him. Good shout.
I've still got Mbeumo in my team, so I've got a host of players still, like Rashford, Bruno, and Mbeumo who owe me. I'm hoping this is going to be like one massive
do a Sterling, don't they? That's what they need to do.
Before they do one with Stian at the start of the stream. We've got the best Game Week 9 wildcard team up on screen from Hub AI. If you want to look at this yourself, it's constantly updated, it's dynamic. fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. Go to my team and go to AI teams. It gives you the best 1 week team, but also the best wildcard team. At the moment, this has got Turner and Areola, Trippier, Porro, Byrne, Kabore and Taylor, Son, Salah, Diaby, Foden, and Gordon. That's a nice looking midfield. And then Haaland and Watkins up front, so it is a nice team. But the bit we want to talk about a little bit more was just around transfer value. So we touched on this in the last pod, and I took a bit of a slating because I said it doesn't matter at all. So, Rich, I know you've got strong feelings on this, mainly because your transfer value is probably a bit lower than us. Could just go to Adam first. Adam, your thoughts on, you've wildcarded now. Were you overly restricted on your wild card? Do you think it's important? Do you think it matters?
I'll be honest. I don't know. I don't. I think. I think whatever budget you've got within reason, there are options, and we're all going to face different challenges. It's a case of who do you leave out, and I don't think there's a budget that, unless you've got an unlimited budget, you're going to have that challenge. And if people have got low team value, it might push them to go without Haaland, and that could be a great route to go because it allows them to have every other player. So I think for me, I think there's options, and I'd mention it as a consideration, but it wasn't a huge consideration for me. I wouldn't have a wild carded for team value. I think it was a bonus. I might have gained a little bit, but not loads. And I think equally, while there's players going up, there's a lot that have come down. So Gabriel, Martinelli, a couple that spring to mind. So I think there's some options at all prices. So I wouldn't worry too much. And actually, the players like Salah hasn't gone up. Obviously, gone up 1.1. Haaland hasn't gone up. So I don't think for me it's a huge issue. Maybe you go Saka instead of Son. There's plenty, or you go Martinelli instead of Saka. I think there's so many alternatives. So yeah, I wouldn't. It's not something that I would worry about personally.
Interesting. Rich, what's you thinking?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, normally I don't worry about it at all. I'm always a late in the week transferring manager. I don't worry about grabbing 0.1s, on the weekend and have fear of players rising or falling. But this year, the volatility in the markets, and it just feels to me like they've amped it up, they've cranked it up, and I think that's because we've only got 2 active premiums in Salah and Haaland. They're accelerating it. However they do it, there's someone sits there and subjectively decides whether to raise a player. I know people think that there's some mathematical algorithm in the background that's calculating a fair market value for each player, and it isn't. There's people have been holding back Saka's price for this window. They've been holding back Botman's. Botman's not fallen in price this window since he got injured. So that is a deliberate holdback by FPL Towers because they know everyone's going to want him when he's fit again. And therefore, because we haven't got those 3 or 4 premium players like Kane and De Bruyne are also in the game, it was too easy at the beginning of the season to afford pretty much everyone you wanted, and now they're trying to make the game harder, which actually is a good thing because it's making the game more challenging. The fact that players' prices are rising. People like Trippier have shot up in values at 6.9 or nearly 7 million now. He was already expensive. So they're accelerating the rise of some players, decelerating the fall of others, and it's just made me more consciously aware as my team has started to bleed into negative equity, if you like, go below 100 million sometimes, or threaten to do that. I'm thinking, God, I'm going to really struggle if I want Salah and Haaland in my team. I am going to have to make sacrifices, and I'm just more aware of it than I was. It's not killing me, but it's making me think I've got to think about gaining, playing the markets a bit, gaining money on someone that I might hold for the short term, which certainly influenced my transfers before the break. Just so I could, make sure I've got a reasonable team value going into the wildcard. So I think they're going to continue. I mean, normally by this time the markets start to slow down a bit. If you look at some of these graphs that come out, you've got a lot more volatility in the first 6 game weeks. And now at game week 9, next week we've got maybe 50% of the game wildcarding in game week 10. Are they going to completely slow the markets down this weekend, or are they going to go crazy on Saturday night? So I think it's an interesting time, and I don't think anyone's really got the answer. I just feel that it's something I've got to take more notice of than I have been.
Interesting. I would also say that I think that credit to FPL. I think they've priced the vast majority of the game really well this year in terms of it is forcing everyone to make decisions, right? The fact that we can't have Trippier, Salah, and Haaland really is really good because it produces a brilliant variety of teams. I know that a lot of people may have maybe 5 or 6 players the same. And I think for a period between game week like 3 and 7, there was a massive template. I think that template is diverging now, and I think the fact that I'm considering going without Haaland, which I think I've owed him ever since he's been playing the Premier League, for example, and the fact that because you've got Haaland and Salah, you can't go for Trippier. We don't even talk about Trent, whereas Trent last year, the year before, we've been nagging for ages. Put him up to 8 million, really make us think. And okay, he's not delivering like he did in previous years, but if he was, we couldn't afford him either. Or if we would have to be really scraping the barrel. So I think FPL have done a fantastic job in the pricing. I'm still firmly in the camp of it doesn't matter, and it's because there's so many great options. We're talking about you can't go for Diaby, you just go for Gordon. There's your million, and I don't think it's gonna be a massive.
Not exactly rubbish.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't think there's a million difference between those players in terms of he's not going to score 30 more points. Diaby's not going to score 30 more points than Gordon in the next 5-6 weeks, is it? You haven't got that. So yeah, I think that they've priced everything really well. So we've got a really challenging season, and but I still. I looked at my team value this morning, just based on your conversation point, Rich. I haven't looked at it all season. I just don't look because to me it is absolutely meaningless. It really doesn't matter.
What was it?
I've got 101.1 plus 0.1 in the bank. Adam had 101 plus 0.1, and you had 99.7 plus 0.4. So yours is a good million short. But like I say, it's only Diaby to Gordon. It's just like it's not gonna define your season, and that's that was the point I'm trying to make a couple of weeks ago. People talk about transfer value like it's going to define your season. I just don't think it does at all. There's always alternatives, or if it's not, if you really want Diaby, you just go someone else you go Son to Maddison, or you go, I just think there's always alternatives. So that was the point I'm trying to make. So, but yeah, be interesting next week.
Rather than having Salah in your team, you could have like Morgan Gibbs-White or something, Rich.
You could do. Rather than Haaland, you can go for Chris.
There's always an option, isn't there? So
that's all the difference.
Brilliant. Let's have a look at the captain for this week. Looking at predicted points for game week 9 only. fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. Go to predicted points. You can get all these if you're a hub member. Haaland top 8.6. Obviously, looking at what Salah did against Brighton last week, Haaland is probably going to have a good day, you'd guess, against Brighton, especially at the Etihad. Son 7.1, Salah 7, and then Maddison, Bruno, Watkins, Trent, Trippier, and Bomo all around the 5 mark. In the poll on fantasyfootballhub.co.uk, Haaland 57% of the vote, Salah home to Everton 26%, and then Son home to Fulham at 9%. Rich, what's your thinking on captaincy this week?
Well, at least if Haaland bangs, it might be worth a few green arrows, mightn't it? So it's not going to be ubiquitously captain by the looks of it. It's quite a lot going for Salah. So nice to see the divergence. I think that's confidence, obviously, after the 30-pointer. If you captained him last week. Issue is, it's a derby. It's the first game. First game shouldn't matter, but the Everton will definitely be out for the derby. So I'm going to go Haaland against that Brighton defence. I'm pretty, I'm not worried about not having the best captain. I think Salah is a good captain shout and could do well again. But I'm really just I'm hoping he stays quiet because I don't even own him. So that's the issue to me. But yeah, it's Haaland for me all the way.
Cool. Adam, yourself?
Yeah, I think there's a conversation this week, which is and like there was the previous week, which is good. I can see the merits of Salah. I can see the merits of Son. There's obviously some slight injury doubts around Son, and maybe more of a minute's risk than anything else. So I think it's between those three. When I was looking at Haaland's home form, particularly against, in fact, against anyone, his home form is incredible. And because he's been a little bit out of sorts, that makes me think that he's not going to continue to, was he blanked a couple of games in a row? He's not going to continue to do that, is he? So I think Villa put 6 versus Brighton in their last away, and I don't think that'll happen. But
It'd be
if
7.
I was looking at how easy Villa got in behind, and with I think both Haaland and Alvarez, and I think he will play both. Having seen how Villa worked it, I think he will play both, and it will cause Brighton potential issues. So yeah, it's hard to go against Haaland. I mean, again, he's got hat-trick potential in pretty much any home game. I think all of his hat-tricks have come at home. And that's the thing that made me keep him, particularly the Brighton and Bournemouth game. They were the ones I could see hat-tricks. So yeah, I'm going to go with Haaland.
I wonder if I can get away with captaining Alvarez in game week 11 against Bournemouth. Just as an aside.
Yeah, but you're gonna. I think the problem with Alvarez, you're not going to be worried about Haaland being benched. I don't think that'll happen. It might be the odd game, but it's unlikely.
I think it would need a leak of him confirming to start, which would make it. Yeah, but yeah, Haaland all the way for me. I personally think it's a bit of a no-brainer this week.
Well, it's a no-brainer if you don't own Salah. I think it makes it a lot easier. I think those that have got Salah, I think it's a close call. But I kept Haaland, and my plan with Haaland was I am going to captain him in the home games. So I'm just going to stick with that because, like I said, his hat tricks. I think he got 5 in the league for City. And I think there was another one in the FA Cup, and obviously the Champions League game he got 5. So what's that? I think he's got 6 or 7 hat tricks for City, and I think they've all come at the Etihad. I could be wrong on that. Happy to be corrected, but I know at least 6 of them have. So it's. I don't think any other player, if you looked at percentage of games that he's got a hat trick in, it's ridiculous. So he's the upside pick for me.
Fair enough. Fergie is a punt this week. We chatted about him a little bit. I did pick Darwin last week for the next 4 weeks. He did get, I think, an assist, didn't he, last week?
Got an assist, yeah.
I'll take that. This week we've mentioned him a couple.
Scored against Brazil, didn't he?
He got a goal. He got a goal and assist in that game. Yeah.
How many FPL points did he get for that?
No, he didn't get many.
None.
a load of upside.
Can't claim that.
This week,
surprised Fergie wasn't though. Surprised Fergie wasn't going to mention that.
This week, this player is 0.4% owned, so he's incredibly low. I do expect it to rise quite drastically over the next 2 weeks. They have a fantastic next 4 fixtures, absolutely superb, as good as it gets. When he does play, he's very, very attacking. Takes call. I mentioned him already, but he's going to be in my wildcard team for next week, assuming he starts this weekend. But Constantino Tsimikas is a really low owned one who I think could have. I thought in his first season he looked a bit shaky, a bit ropey. But when Robertson was out, I can't remember was it last season he was out for a while. And Tsimikas had a run of games. He's very, very attacking, and I think the fixtures are perfect for him. So I think these next 4 games, it's in the context of his price, right? It's really odd. I'm not expecting him to produce kind of Trippier returns, but I would not be surprised in the next 4 game weeks to see a couple of 6-pointers, maybe a 12-pointer as well. So he's definitely in my wildcard team for 10.
Yeah, I think it is. You've got to take advantage of these enablers. If you were going to wildcard him in, would you have him as your 3rd defender or as your 4th defender?
Probably my 4th, I think, personally, because I still think, especially if I'm going without Haaland, I can afford a bit more. So kind of Trippier, Spurs defender, maybe Arsenal defender, and then him as my 4th, and then a 4 million because I think that would be the plan. I
feels right that, doesn't it?
No, Matty Cash.
No, and Cash is a really good point, actually. I probably would have Cash. Yeah. I haven't thought a great deal about my wildcard team yet, but that is a really good point. Cash, yeah, I want Cash. I've been watching Match of the Day. He's frightening. He was unlucky a couple of weeks ago. I think the week after he scored 2, could have scored another 2, and then another 2 after that. He's just everywhere, isn't he? So yeah, I think Cash is actually a really good shout. So
yeah,
I'll probably have Cash in there as well.
Cash is hot property in the Hopcroft household. Everyone loves him. So my daughter, who's 9, that's her celebrity crush, Matty Cash. And she came home the other day, like a boy at school knows him, and she came back with a signed photo from Matty Cash. So I know, yeah, and he just so happens he's going out with her now. So yeah, she can be bought.
He's got.
Shouldn't say that on say that on the podcast. My daughter can be bought. I'll take that back. But yeah, he does love Matty Cash.
He's got fantastic hair, hasn't he? He has got good hair.
He's got great hair. Yeah,
I think he's in my wild
We're all
card
jealous
team
of
just
that.
for expected hair.
Yeah.
Getting Netflix documentaries made about him next, won't
Let's have a look at our teams for the coming weekend then. So Adam, you've got your wildcard team. Really, really nice looking team, I must say. Do you want to talk through your plan for the week?
Yeah, so my plan is to save a transfer. So I'll listen to the press conferences, but if everyone's fine, my plan is on Friday just to set it up and then just turn off everything for Saturday. Because if I hear that Alvarez is potentially on the bench, what'll happen is I'll bring in someone like Visa who's a 1 week punt.
Yeah, right.
But I just don't think that would be a sensible decision, because I think having the power of 2 free transfers against wildcards next week, and also as well, Alvarez could do damage off the bench. So I think it'll be, if I turn off notifications and all of that, it'll be a lot easier for me to get through, without making any last ditch transfers.
Yeah.
The plan is to save this week and then have 2 free transfers next week. And to be honest, there's very few players. There's a lot of players that could be expendable. I would consider getting rid of my Spurs boys. I'd consider getting rid of my City boys. I'd consider who else? I think they're probably the main ones. But Salah at Villa, Salah, Diaby, Bowen, happy with them. Cash. Want to keep Burn. So I think I'll save, and then next week will be a little bit more exciting. I reckon maybe I might even do 3 transfers if I do take out Haaland. I think I want to spread the funds around.
For the riches.
Really nice point by Ed Wells in the chat. He says, if you want a punt, go for Mateus Franca. Now I've heard about this boy. He's a youngster for Palace, and he might be making his debut this week. I've heard a lot about him. Apparently he's the new Neymar, so it'll be interesting to see if he plays.
It is a really good point, but I'm just always nervous. He's had limited. I just think away at Newcastle first.
I completely agree. It's just a fact. Yeah. I think the excitement of seeing
it's a good. Yeah, no,
really
I would agree. I would agree, but I think Palace without so many players, a lot of their creative forces. I think Eze and Elisa are out there. Yeah, but it's a good one to highlight.
And your AI recommended transfer this week is to bank this week, Adam. So but banking looks the way forward.
Do you know what? I looked at it the other day. I don't know, and it said it was to ditch Anderson and bring in Kabore. I'm like, what? That can't be right.
That's just about freeing up cash. That is.
Right. Okay.
Cash on your bench.
I just got rid of Kabore, and Anderson got me points. What are they trying to do to me?
No, it's bank your transfer for this week. But if you did have an alternative, it recommends freeing up some cash for future moves. Rich, your team on screen. Your plans for the week?
Take a 1 week punt. Likely to sell Sterling to enable that, just because there are half a dozen options that we talked about on this program in midfield at that mid price point. At the moment, I'm thinking Anthony Gordon's going to be my choice. Doesn't really matter. I'm coming down. Although, as I say, I will give Diaby some thought. If Villa were playing a bit more of a ropey team, and West Ham are no pushovers, are they? So that game could be quite close. So I think I'll go for Anthony Gordon, just the upside of that Palace fixture without Palace's attackers. I think Newcastle will win that game comfortably. So I think Gordon for Sterling will be my 1 week punt. I would love to have gone for Darwin, and would probably even sold Alvarez for him to enable that. I can't get to Diaz. If there's some sort of leak that Gakpo starts, I can afford Alvarez to Gakpo, and I might be tempted by that, but that's a bit risky with him coming back after an injury. He's probably only likely to get an hour or something. So, that's going to be likely for me. Gordon coming in, really hoping that Rashford and Bruno, who both had great games in the international break, And that should give, that goal from Rashford should give him some confidence. I really hope they bang in a few for the patient managers out there who still hold them both before they.
Patience are nice words, more like
exactly. Yeah,
there's other words I can think of about that, but yeah, I've got them as well.
Problem is for England, he's got Jude Bellingham and Harry Kane playing alongside him, which I think does make a difference.
Yeah, he's a good point.
The AI recommends you play Turner over Onana. Interestingly, this week, are you going to play Onana? Mm-hmm. I'm guessing you are. You? Or
I was going to play Onana. I think I've got Turner in this picture, but I'm not sure. I mean, they're both good fixtures, right? So if Turner there's rumour Turner might lose his place soon, but I think he'll hold on to it for this week. I mean, home to Luton, it's got to be better than away to Sheffield United with United's leaky defence, hasn't it?
I can't believe we're having
I can't believe we're
Nottingham
talking
Forest
about
keeper ahead of Man United keeper.
I know.
And you've got the actual choice. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
I know.
I think I would start Onana over Turner. Yeah, because I would monitor the injuries for United firstly, but if it's looking quite positive, I see a clean sheet for United. Even though I'm starting Turner over Areola because I want Areola to concede about 5 first, but also Luton is a good fixture on paper. I think in their home games this season, what have they done? I think they've conceded. They've conceded against. Just looking at it now, so I think they've conceded in every home game. So they conceded against Sheffield United, they conceded against Burnley, and they conceded against Brentford. So
I think you've got to think United are going to improve, haven't you?
I think Luton will score, but I think for me, I think they will score less than Villa will potentially score. So but if I was in, I think Sheffield United looks so poor. And I think even United will win comfortably, 1 or 2-0.
I'm not putting United
and it'll be a nice little. That could be one which, I mean, it could obviously go the other way, but that could be like a marginal decision which gets you a big game because most people will I think most people who've got Onana and Turner will play Turner. So I think there's an opportunity for you to get a gain there.
Okay. No, I originally had Onana in there, and it was like looking at all the masses. It's all Turner, So
well, this is exactly, and I think this is where we can get drawn into what other people did. Like I said, I did exactly that with not captaining Salah the week before, and I think he's brave going against what other people are doing. But if I'm looking at the games, I think Luton score. I don't think Sheffield United score. So. I could be completely wrong. But
I think Sheffield United are going to score. I do.
Really?
Yeah.
They are so bad though.
Casemiro's out. He's out for this weekend. And
is he definitely out?
He's confirmed earlier this afternoon. Yeah.
Okay. So I think
they scored against Man City. They scored against Spurs. They can score. They'll lose. I got no doubt they'll lose, but they can score goals. So I don't know. Your AA recommended transfer. It's very interestingly Sterling to Diaby.
Yeah, Diaby's had a lot of airtime this game week.
Can I ask a question on that, Fergie? So can you input it? So Rich is wildcard in next week. Is there, for everybody else who uses it, is there a way of doing it so that he can put in the weekly wildcards?
There is. So
so have you put that in for his
record? So Rich hadn't done it, and when he hadn't done it, it said to save the transfer for this week. You can, if you go to chips on my teams, go to Fantasy Football Hub, my team. There's a little thing on the bottom, play chips, and you can you're going to wildcard in game week 10, and then what the algorithm does then, it looks at your team, basically knows you're going to wildcard, so it gives you a 1 week punt then. So yeah, if you do that, you can also put in when you're going to play your other chips as well. It's really good around free hit. As well, and on bench boost, if you say if when we're on like game week 25, you're going to bench boost in 29, it'll start to recommend transfers to optimize the bench boost as well and things like that and things. It's a really, really great underused tool. And for those who haven't seen, if you go on Fantasy Football Hub as well, we've now got new custom transfers. So if you kind of know the player you want, or you know a player you want to get rid of, you can go on and you can filter by position, by price point. Rich, if you're looking for a midfielder, if you know you want a midfielder under Sterling's value, you can go in and you can do that, and it will tell you which player to bring in for Sterling. In this case, it's going to be Diaby, right? But if you were thinking of taking out Alvarez, it will tell you who the best player is. So go and have a play on that. fantasyfootballhub.co.uk. My team, the absolute best tool in the market by an absolute mile. Quick look at my team. I'm struggling a bit this week because I feel I have a strong 11. And I've got a free transfer before a wild card. So I've got Turner in goals. I've got Trippier, Cash, and Udogie at the back, which I'm reasonably happy with. I think West Ham will score is my only thing with Cash, but I also think Cash potential for attacking return. Son, Bruno, Maddison, and Rashford, so same as Rich there. But I've also got Mbomo home to Burnley, who there's no way I'm selling him ahead of home to Burnley, so I'm pretty excited about that. Haaland and Alvarez. So I've been thinking about 1 week punts, and I'm not sure. My latest thinking is Cash to Simicast because they're home to Everton. But I don't know. I'm interested in your gents' views on who to get rid of out of that 11, because I think it's a pretty decent 11, to be honest.
It's tough. I mean, I was, to be honest, I was thinking of it that I might even bring in Mbomo for 1 week.
Yeah, exactly. There's no way I'm getting rid of him.
Everyone's selling him. But now he's on pens. He's home to Burnley. That's a pretty good fixture for Brentford, isn't it? And he's still pretty highly owned. And it's difficult to make an attacking transfer out of that team, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think the play for you is I think you want to see if Alvarez starts.
Yeah,
because that would give you your answer straight away.
It would.
Maybe Visa or whoever, Chris Wood, as you've talked him up. But I think there's Chris Wood, yeah.
Go Chris Wood. He bangs in a hattie before wildcard.
I think
unbelievable.
I think either. I see your point on Cash, but I don't know. I think Villa have been so good at home.
Yeah, agree.
It's a hard one. I think.
No.
I mean, you could upgrade your bench a little bit, maybe make a bench transfer, because I think
I'm wildcarding next week.
Yeah, I know, but
just in case someone doesn't play, you mean?
Yeah, exactly.
That's really good
exactly
shout.
Exactly that. Have you got?
I could do Gvardiol to Simicast actually, because he's going to rise in price. I would guess as well. So even that could be a shout, couldn't it?
So yeah, I think that's quite smart. He's almost using it to gain, because I just look at it and I think, you could take Rashford out, you could take Bruno out, but you don't get much better than Sheffield United.
Exactly. And I've held on to him for this long. There's no way I'm getting rid now. Imagine Rashford goes and scores a goal or two, and I've just got rid of him after 9 game weeks.
Yeah,
that's the worst kind of transfer out, isn't it? You can't get rid of them.
And my recommended transfers for this week is Rashford to Diaby. So obviously Rashford's expected minutes have dropped. I think he's played 17 and 16 in the last 2. So his minutes have dropped off. Though I would think, given the last win and given the fact he's just played well for England, I would guess he would play a few more minutes, closer to 80 to 90 this week. He's
played 90 for England as well.
Yeah, so I'd guess he'd go back up. So I think if his expected minutes were 90, I don't think it would be recommended to take out Rashford. So I think I'm quite happy with my team. Yeah, I like that, Adam. Gvardiol to Simicast, have him on the bench if I don't get a start or whatever else. It's a really nice one to put in there. Hopefully get a rise or two over the break then. Over the week. Yeah, wild card. So any thoughts at all, Rich? Or
I would Simicast. I mean, you can't even go 4-4-2 with him, can you? Really, it's difficult. But yeah, Simicast, if I was going to make a defensive move, I think I would look at Simicast as well this week. Particularly again, you're more likely to get a leak.
Yeah, exactly.
Around 12 o'clock, you'd want to hear he's starting, because they could play Gomez, couldn't he, at left back? So
yeah, sure.
You want to make sure he starts.
Sherwin Spogda says roll the transfer.
You can't get to Darwin though. You can't get to Darwin.
How much is Darwin?
7.4.
No. I've only got 0.1 in the bank. I'll wait for a leak. I'll come up with an Alvarez plan for a leak, but overall kind of happy, I think. Interesting saying to save the wild card. I'm set. I'm excited. I'm excited to get in Watkins, Diaby, Mitoma, Salah, and all these players. So I'm That's on the wild card.
Save the wild card and take a -28 next week.
That's the way to play, isn't it?
Mm.
I'm good. I'm excited I'm excited to press the button at what will it be, about 11:45 on Saturday, won't it? And catch it. Really excited for that.
And then watch the markets completely freeze up.
Exactly that. Yeah.
No movement whatsoever. Yeah.
That is it from us for this week. Thank you so much for everyone who joined in the chat. Amazing crowd interaction, engagement as usual. Absolutely brilliant. Thanks to those who are going to watch it back and those listening on the podcast version. Your support is very, very much appreciated. Adam, thank you so much for all your input and insight this week. Where can people get hold of you?
On X at Hopta Stats.
Is that the porn site or do you mean Twitter? Which one?
Oh, Twitter, whatever they're calling it now. Yeah. No, I'm not on the porn site, unfortunately. No,
not anymore.
Or I'm trying to keep that low key.
So, someone in the chat a little while ago, Rahul said Adam looks exactly like Eric Ten Hag. I'll call you Adam Ten Hag.
Oh, love it.
Rich, where can people get hold of you?
I'm on the Bird app as well, and it's at Rich Clarke FPL.
And I should have said, sorry, Rich, thank you so much for all your intelligent insight and chat as well, obviously.
That's all right, buddy. Give us a like on YouTube, guys. We've got 689
like.
watching and 17 likes. Come on, you can do better than 17 likes.
Brian said Adam's on XXX, not just on X. So, yeah. I've got visions in my head now, Adam. I don't know. I'm not sure I'll be able to sleep tonight. Yeah. My handle on Twitter is at FFH_Fergie. You can also follow us at FFH_Green Arrow and at FFH_HQ for the hub. This podcast video will be in the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast videos below on all major podcast platforms. If you can't watch us back, just listen in the car. It's absolutely fine. If you like what you watch, please press the like button. Please do. Only 130 likes. Come on. And remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast. Jump onto Apple. Give us 5 stars and leave us a couple of comments. Thank you so much to everyone in the chat for all your kind words. It's really, really appreciated. Ed Wells says Alvarez to Hoyland. I can do that as well. That's not a bad shout. I like that. That's a good move.
That is a good one. Yeah, no, I'm a nanoed out on that one, so I can't.
I like that move.
Imagine United win like 4-0 and I've got Rashford, Bruno and Hoyland. But imagine they draw 0-0. I got none of it.
It's a McTominay hat-trick.
Exactly.
No involvement. That'd be great, yeah.
We'll be back next week previewing Game Week 10 in a Wildcard special. Cannot wait. Wildcard fever, Rich.
Yeah, I know. It'd be amazing.
In what will also be our 150th episode, coincidentally. Oh, wow. I know, 150 episodes. Incredible. This is I think it's our fourth. I think that's our 5th season, actually. But yeah, 150 episodes. So we'll have a bit of a party as well. In the meantime, the very, very best of luck for Game Week 9. And may all your arrows be green. Good night, all.